Hey guys, this is Jason Fila, and I wanted to talk to you about something that I've been thinking about here for a while. I've been trying to think about how we can help solve the housing crisis in this country and how we can uh, increase economic mobility and restore some semblance or some sense of the American dream for people who um, aren't earning the highest amounts of money, for people who are lower SES, lower socioeconomic status. Basically, just means people who are earning some of the lower wages in society. I want the American dream to be open to everyone. I think right now and for the last, I don't know, few decades, it's been less and less open to everyone, especially as everything has gotten more expensive, especially housing. So, let me talk to you about what my thoughts have been on this. And I made some points, I wrote down some points to make, so that's why I'm looking over to this other screen. Um, so, in my mind, if you are watching this, you are potentially eligible for this program. How's the program going to work? Well, the idea is to link private individuals who either have much more wealth or much higher income, so upper middle class folks, link those people to lower SES folks, people who are making less money, and offer them a stipend or a subsidy for housing. But it comes with strings attached. So nobody just wants to give away their money for no for not for and feel like they get nothing out of it, or not achieving any goal. So I think there would be three goals that the higher income earner would want from this. One of them is to empower people who are starting off with in a lower SES range, people who are making less money. I would like to see someone who's working hard but not making a lot of money to start off with. I'd like within 10 years for someone like that who's got a good work ethic to be able to have a net wealth of at least $175,000. And I think I've figured out a way for that to happen. It's going to require sacrifice on part of the donor and on part of the recipient. Um, so both the donor and the recipient are going to have to make some sacrifice. The donor is going to have to give time and money. The recipient's going to have to give, you're going to have to sacrifice as well. And we'll talk about what that would entail. So the second goal is to empower people who are starting off at the lower SES level, who people aren't making a lot of money per hour for an hourly wage. Second goal is to help them increase how much money they're making, right? Every year, because that's going to be obviously that's everyone, it'd be a great goal to have. And the final goal that the donors are going to have is to create more housing supply by incentivizing people to increase the density that they'd otherwise be living in. So, in other words, you can have, I've seen people who are, I've seen one gal who doesn't make a lot of money, and it's just her living in one house that's got four bedrooms, and almost all of her money's going to rent. Um, and she's got to track extremely closely all of her utilities. And her landlord is basically keeping the rent $800 lower than it really should be. That's not a very efficient use of space because we have a housing crisis. So one of the ways to attack the housing crisis is to have more people live in the homes and the apartments and the condos that we already have. So instead of having one person living in a four-bedroom house, you'd want at least four people or even eight people living in that four-bedroom house. That would be increasing the housing density. So we have the same square footage, but it's actually being utilized more efficiently. So essentially, how does this program work? All right, how can we achieve these three goals? So remember, one of the goals is within 10 years, someone who's starts working in fast food, working at the beginning wages on the lower wage spectrum, can have $175,000 net worth. Number two, earn more every single year. And number three, we're living more closely together. And so how does the program work? Okay. The recipients, the residents, the lower income folks will be required to only pay $100 per month for their rent. So that's where they're getting most of their savings, is that they're not having to pay, they only have to pay $100 per month for housing. So the donors, the people who are upper middle class folks or middle class folks, will pay the remainder of the rent plus the utilities. But in order for this to function and work, the linchpin is the recipients, the lower income folks, must be required to save and invest $1,000 per month. And it would just be like in a Vanguard account. Vanguard is a member owned. So in other words, if you invest in Vanguard, you own it. So they don't have an incentive to screw you over. It's a member owned investment firm. So it's like Fidelity. Vanguard manages something like $7 trillion. They manage trillions upon trillions of dollars, and they're like I think they're the fastest growing brokerage in the country as well. And so highly reliable, basically the most trustworthy group. So you'd want to invest in an international stock market electronically traded fund, so an ETF. And I can explain all that later on. If it goes over your head, don't worry about it. But that's that. If you do that, that should get you to $175,000 net worth. So when you invest in that international stock fund, you're investing in 7,000 companies worldwide. So if any one country goes to war and gets decimated, you're just fine because you're not invested in any one country. If any one company goes bankrupt, you're just fine because you're invested not in one company, but 7,000. So it's called broadly diversified. So basically, you're not going to get demolished if one thing goes really badly for any one country or any one business. So I'm going to try to share my screen and show you how does this work. So let's just see. There we go. So this is the math. I'm an accountant. Okay, so I'm going to just run through this really quick. If you're not into the numbers, then just you can skip ahead or whatever. But here's how we get you to have a net worth of $175,000 within 10 years, at least $175,000. So if you contribute $1,000 per month, here's the month number. Here are your contributions. Let's say you get an annual return of 9%. If you get 9% rate of return, which is definitely doable in the stock market, then on a monthly basis, it's a 0.75% monthly return. Basically, on $1,000 per month, very first month, you're only earning $8. You don't have any prior contributions. And if you add up the monthly earnings plus prior contributions plus your next monthly contribution, you have $1,008. Month two, you can put another $1,000 in this international stock fund. This month, you're making $15 because now you've got not just $2,000, but $2,008. So add up your new contribution plus last month's contribution, and you get at plus this monthly earning, and now you've got $2,023. And the next month, at the end of the month, you've got $3,045, and so on and so forth. So at the end of 10 years, if you contribute $1,000, you're going to have something on the order. In this scenario, $195,000. But let's lower this to 7%. If you get a 7% rate of return, you're at about $175,000 at the end of 10 years. Let's say we get a low return of only 5%, which is definitely doable. Oh, you're down to $155,000. Boo-hoo. Still, at the end of 10 years, how many friends and family do you know, that have $155,000 of liquid net worth, right? If you're earning the lowest amounts that society's paying, then I'm going to guess that you don't have a lot of friends and family who have $175,000 net worth in a stock portfolio. So, but that's what I'd like you to have at the end of 10 years. Okay, so you're only going to pay at $100 a month. Your donor is going to pay $400 or $500 a month. Well, that's not enough to cover rent for you completely, now is it? No. The only way that this works is if you live more densely, if you live with other people. So that's the sacrifice that a lower income person is going to have to make in order to get these benefits. In order to have a net worth of 155 to 200,000, let's just say that 155,000, 200,000. If you want that in 10 years, then you're going to have to live with other people. So you would share a room with one other person, and then you'd share the house with 300 to 500 other people. What does this do? This basically creates a magical scenario where we get an extra $500 per month out of thin air. So I, as an upper middle class person, will contribute $500 because you're cohabitating, you're living more densely. That's going to save you $500. So that's $1,000 right there. So you're going to come out of your every month scenario not any less, with no less money than you currently have. So that's the genius of all this. You're going to be $155,000 to $200,000 wealthier in 10 years if you follow this program, and it's not going to cost you anything that you wouldn't otherwise have. It's not going to cost you any money. What the sacrifice you have to make is you have to have a roommate. That's what you've got to do. If you will sacrifice for 10 years to have a roommate, and I had roommates till I was 32. So this is nothing I haven't done myself. There are many obstacles that we'll talk about later on in a different video that you've got to overcome. There are challenges. So I'm not going to say it's not a sacrifice. I'm not going to say it's easy always. There's some pros. It's nice to have a built-in friend and whatnot, so you're not going to be as lonely and such. But definitely there are cons, 100%. And we'll talk about those obstacles and some potential solutions to those obstacles. So without you living more densely, this program will not work. Okay, so and then the third item that is vital is that the recipient of the $500 monthly donation needs to meet regularly, preferably weekly, for a brief meeting with the donor. It's extremely important to have cross-class, cross-economic status relationships. It's very, very important. In fact, they've done research that shows that the single biggest factor to improve someone's income over time, if they're in the lowest income decile, so the lowest 10% earners in our country, the very fastest and very, very surest and best way to increase their wealth, or not their wealth, but their annual income, is to get them to have more friends who are wealthier and earn more money. It's a bigger and a more important factor than education. It's a bigger factor than anything else that they've researched. So it's extremely important. Those meetings are what will achieve one of the goals, which is to increase your income. So this is the program. This is the basics of it. Feel free to offer feedback, but it's not for everybody. It's for people who are willing to sacrifice and who want to get ahead and who are motivated. And there are a lot of people who have reached the point of like a quiet desperation, and they're going to hear this. They're going to be cynical. They're not going to think it's possible. They're going to think it's too good to be true, or they're just going to think this is not for them. They're going to have a bunch of excuses in their heads as to why it's not going to work, why it's not going to work for them, why it's a dumb idea, a bad idea. And I'm not here to try to convince you. There are not going to be a lot of spots available for the recipients because they're going to be getting free money. So at the end of the day, there are going to be some people who are extremely interested, and the slots that are available are going to fill up really fast because there are more people who are willing to receive $500 a month than there are who are willing to give $500 a month, as you might imagine. So, but I'm one of the people who's willing to give $500 a month. But you've got to, you're going to have to submit to me proof that you've set up your Vanguard account. You don't have to show me your Vanguard account number. I don't have to have access to it. You just have to prove to me, show me a statement once a month to prove to me that you are saving that money and investing it. And as long as you're doing that, I'm happy to help you out. I'm happy to help someone out with rent. If you're not getting ahead financially, then I'm not interested in working with you because it's just not satisfying to me. I don't want to throw my money to just help someone live a more lavish lifestyle. You're not going to live a lavish lifestyle with $500 extra a month. But what I'm interested in is finding the people who are as motivated as I am to help themselves get ahead. And that's what I would find worthy of my sacrifice of $500 a month. But I'm not going to just give someone $500 a month to live in a bigger home or to help them with their rent if they're a single person living in a studio. I'm not interested in helping anyone in that situation. Other people are, and you can go try to find them. Churches, if you need help one time, might help you with rent. I'm looking for a long-term type of professional type relationship here where I can see you getting ahead financially. That to me would be extraordinarily meaningful and worth every bit of whatever sacrifice I'm giving. And I know I would come out vastly ahead. It would endow my life with a lot of meaning, and I would find it very fulfilling. And the relationship, every relationship is two-way. So I'm certain I'll be learning a lot from whoever I'm giving the money to. And I'm certain I'll come away more grateful for the experience. So this is how the program works. If you're interested in being one of the recipients, if you think that you're motivated enough to make this happen, then let me know and we can take it from there. I can't guarantee everyone who expresses interest will be guaranteed a slot. I'm looking for other people who are upper middle class, like myself, to offer to become donors as well. So I want to get this program up and started. I might turn it to a not-for-profit. That's probably what I'll need to do so people can get tax deductions for doing this. That's not the purpose, but if I'm giving the money, I might as well save money on taxes. I'd still be losing money at the end of the day from my own net wealth, but it will be totally worth it. So at the end of the day, I want people to feel like, other people have your back and somebody gives a damn and somebody gives a shit, somebody cares. And that's put my money where my mouth is. So the world's a crazy place. And I think a lot for too long, lower income people have felt like they're getting screwed over by wealthier people. And I'm here to take a stand and say, well, let's just reverse that and let's try to make an impact on one other individual's life at least. And we'll just take it from there. I'm not trying to save the world. I'm just trying to help. I hope I can have a significant impact on at least a few people. Okay, have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks for listening.